Even if vanilla Street Fighter 4 was before your time, you're still probably aware of the fact that Akuma was an absolute mix-up god. Vortex, the colloquial term we use for looping mix-ups, was inspired by him, and it's obvious why. Safe 50-50s into hard knockdowns were abundant in this title, but he did it better than anyone else, so his legacy prevails. What people talk about far less, however, is Akuma's God button. The button that took him from strong to downright abusive. His stand roundhouse, also known as the party starter. The general game plan of this character, in almost every matchup, was to land a hard knockdown from one of his throws or sweep, as these led to all of his best setups, and he had just about every tool in the book to mix you up. His neutral was good, albeit a little risky due to his low life, but the reward of looped mix was always enough to balance things. The problem is, this stand roundhouse skewed everything. This move is a long range 2-hitting normal, which is a big deal in a game where everyone has a universal single hit of meterless armor that can lead to a full combo on counter hit or at full charge. You could hypothetically release focus attack between the 2 hits, but consciously doing so was really difficult due to how quick the second hit came. On block, this move is 0, meaning no one gets advantage. It is worth noting, however, that Akuma has access to the infamous Shoryuken FADC, so trying to contest this no advantage situation was risky for everyone involved, and as a consequence it often led to the opponent going for a defensive option such as a backdash, allowing for Akuma to press his position. Where things get really stupid though was on hit. It did a huge 110 damage which we would see nerfed multiple times down to 80. Not only this, it forced standing, and because of the insane +5 frame advantage on hit, it meant that you could easily combo into a hard knockdown with or without meter. But none of this sounds broken, right? Maybe strong, but overpowered would be a stretch. Well, the reason it's so good is in part due to this little thing here, his fast standing jab. This button is +7 on hit, and guess which move has 7 frames of startup? Jab lets you combo into stand roundhouse lets you combo into jab, meaning we have got ourselves a loop. The damage potential on this loop is insane, and it's relevant to nearly every single starter. From big jump-ins to crouched light kicks, everything works. What is difficult is the fact that it's range specific. We need our far jab to hit and our far roundhouse. Anything else won't combo. So we need to push ourselves out of that range just far enough to not get the close versions of these moves, but not so far that the jab whiffs. Although it's one frame and difficult, this loop is huge. It makes the risk reward on Akuma's mix-ups entirely jacked up, and a pretty core tenet to Street Fighter 4's design is that meterless damage, although good, pales in comparison to metered, and he just straight up ignores this. Don't get me wrong, a few characters do, but Akuma is not someone deserving of that trait due to all of his other advantages. The thing is though, I think its presence was ultimately good for the health of the game. There were 3 characters people considered to be top tier in Street Fighter 4, Akuma, Sagat, and Ryu. What eventually we ended up realizing is that they all beat each other. Ryu beats Akuma, Akuma beats Sagat, and Sagat beats Ryu. The reason Akuma beat Sagat was his hurt box. These loops, although they worked on normal slim characters, were nowhere near as impactful, as after just a few hits you will be out of range, meaning you'd often have to spend meter to set them up, effectively balancing them. Against characters like Sagat or Honda, however, you could absolutely bully them with these loops, and although that might not have been fair versus Honda, against Sagat we welcomed it. Sagat was unbelievably strong in this game. Insane damage from every hit, high health, amazing projectiles, he had everything, and he consumed the mid-level of play with ease, making swaths of the cast feel completely unusable. That hurtbox also meant that Akuma could sweep Sagat after a grounded light tatsu, making his damage potential against him even higher and the looping pressure even more deadly. It also made him far more susceptible to Akuma's mix-ups, offering a touch more ambiguity to what was already damn near impossible to see. And then if we add on those extra chunks of damage from stand roundhouse, what we've got is a direct counter to who was considered the best character in the game. Now, it is of course worth noting that this was 15 years ago, and retrospectively other characters like Seth could have potentially hit this top tier status too if given enough time, but we never truly got there. There was definitely discussion around who won what matchup and what character was top tier, but this was the general consensus. Although the strength of this button was mostly tied to fighting thick characters, it was still nerfed across multiple versions. In Super we had that aforementioned damage nerf, plus they gave it 8 frames of startup rather than 7, making it so you couldn't combo into it from a fast standing jab. In Arcade Edition there were further nerfs to the damage, and on top of this they made it -2 on block instead of 0, totally removing its status as a party starter. But if I had to pick out the biggest factor that led to this button's eventual irrelevancy, it would have to be the buffs to his other moves. Close standing medium kick became a move that forced standing, and because it was linkable from most of his other attacks, it meant that he had a clear universal route into Tatsu. The introduction of Ultra 2 contributed as well. This high damaging move was comboable off of Akuma's Fierce. All you had to do was cancel into teleport, then cancel the teleport into Ultra, giving him that nice chunky damage if he's willing to spend the meter. Even if the move hadn't been nerfed, you'd still probably not see it too much due to these buffs, combined with the fact that in the later entries to the series, Finn characters reigned supreme with the likes of Yun and Elena. Where things really went downhill is when we got to Street Fighter Cross Tekken. On hit this move is +6, which is fine for combos. On block however, not only was it -2, but you could crouch the second hit. You couldn't do this on reaction, you had to be crouching on the first hit to make it whiff, but this would net you a brutal high damaging combo. As you can imagine, these two nerfs completely gutted the move's utility in neutral and limited its use to purely combos. In the modern day, Capcom have found a pretty interesting spot between Street Fighter 4 and Cross Tekken. On hit this move is +7, once again netting you some good combos. On block the second hit is still crouchable, but it sits at a massive +3, meaning you can actually frame trap off it, unlike a lot of the heavier normals in this game. So because they reintroduced this move's strength on block, what we end up with is a high risk, high reward, long reaching attack which we can use to punish opponents for holding backwards with nice pressure, something that characters can struggle to do meterlessly once people step out of the standard crouch medium kick range. Is it as profoundly busted as vanilla Street Fighter 4? Absolutely not. And is it as uniquely weak as Street Fighter Cross Tekken? Well, no. But they successfully found a middle ground, released a decade after the fact, and I think that's pretty cool.